What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you more coverage on the newly announced Marvel Midnight Suns game that'll be making its way to next-gen platforms next year. We got an awesome trailer displaying the overall theme and aesthetic the title will be going for, but we didn't really get a look at what the gameplay will entail. Those particular details have been withheld until September the 1st, but thankfully you guys don't have to remain completely in the dark like our iconic Marvel team will for this game, because I'm gonna do my best to give you a description of what it will play like, as well as do a breakdown on what was showcased in the trailer cinematics. Firstly, we gotta harp on two things, and that is the graphics and gameplay style. The trailer was obviously going for a more cinematic CG approach to give viewers the vibe they're trying to go for, and rightfully so, it did make some of you a bit apprehensive, because more oftentimes than not, that particular style can mislead fans into thinking that's what the actual game will look like. But I don't believe that's the case for this particular title. As I mentioned in my reaction video, I had already seen screenshots months before the trailer was revealed, and what I saw looks very similar to what was shown off in the official footage. It's also worth noting that although we didn't get any gameplay footage, there was a brief disclaimer that the beginning segment, which featured Captain America and Iron Man, was actually running on the game engine and not pre-rendered like your standard cutscene. So I don't know if the graphics will look exactly like the other scenes, but I have a nagging suspicion that it'll look very similar to the Captain Iron Man scene. I mean, people were apprehensive about Marvel Spider-Man 1's trailer footage being CG or not, even though Insomniac assured them that it was actual in-game footage. But our worries were put to rest when we saw the later trailers that came out, which looked way better than the initial reveal. So I think that'll be the case for this game as well. Now, regarding the gameplay, I know a lot of you instantly dismissed Marvel's Midnight Suns when you heard that it will be a tactical RPG. That's a niche genre that's not too favorable when it comes to gamers and their preference, especially when it comes to Marvel games. People obviously are expecting action and that spectacle that the brand has become synonymous with. So when they hear that it's going to be a tactical RPG, they think of the total opposite, which is slow turn-based gameplay with a overhead perspective. But as I mentioned in my first reaction video, this game is going for a different approach when it comes to the genre. The developers knew that they had to take a different approach with this particular project compared to others they worked on in the past. That's one of the things they hammered home the most when we had our discussion. There'll be no top-down perspective where all the action gets lost in translation. They actually want you to see everything that's happening on the battlefield. According to the creative director Jake Solomon, his team sat down to create something that leaned much closer to the original XCOM formula, but the theming of the game itself and the characters on the map demanded that they change course, and they ultimately ended up developing something very different. He says, and I quote, "That was surprising and terrifying in the beginning, to realize like, oh man, we've got to do a whole different game, but it's cool because it gives you this different feel than XCOM for sure." He went on to say that players will be taking down multiple enemies at a time with powerful attacks that have a much larger impact and range than traditional plasma or laser weaponry. Players will also be interacting more with the environment, such as leaping off of cars, pulling down light poles, and kicking objects all the way across the map. He says, and I quote, "You're doing these very large moves, these epic moves, and so the mechanics are just completely different, which results in still scratching the same itch because it's turn-based tactics combat where you're controlling the team, but the fantasy is very different, and that means the mechanics are 100% different." So yeah, as you hear, this game is going to play very differently from your usual system we see in games like XCOM. Although it's turn-based, it's going to very much be an action-oriented RPG, which I'm totally down for. I just hope that Firaxis makes the animations as flashy as possible to keep it engaging to those who don't necessarily favor this format. Like, make it as visually pleasing as the action sequences we got in the announcement trailer. Some of the scenes alludes to likely team attacks like the iconic shield refraction combo we see with Iron Man and Captain America. If it's showcased like that in the actual gameplay, then 2K is going to have a lot of people forking out money to buy this game. But moving on, besides the tactical RPG elements, Marvel's Midnight Suns will have a feature in which you'll have to develop relationships with each hero. Jake Solomon explained that you choose how to hang out with them and choose how you talk with them and give them gifts. There are also social clubs around the Abbey which will serve as the headquarters that you can join, and that affects your friendships with heroes. Some of those are pretty lighthearted since the story is dark enough. So it looks like this game is going to have more going for it than your typical RPG elements. You're going to have to build relationships with each hero in order to give you a better advantage on the battlefield. This feature alone is going to give players more incentive to fully explore everything this world has to offer. It almost harkens back to the earlier Ultimate Alliance games where you had to interact with the iconic characters from the Marvel Universe, and depending on your answer you could recruit them on your team. It may seem pretty basic now, but that made the game very immersive when it was new. I'm hoping that some of your actions will be consequential depending on the activities you choose for the members, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, regarding the story and roster, I know there were some questions regarding the selection of heroes because, to be quite honest, there are a few members who don't necessarily fit within the overall theme. Like when I think of Midnight Suns, Captain America and Iron Man or Captain Marvel aren't really characters that come to mind. Those are characters that are notorious for taking on surface level threats, and they don't usually deal with the supernatural side of things like other original Midnight Sun members do. If I'm not mistaken, we only have 3 OG members in the form of Doctor Strange, Blade, and Ghost Rider, which I like to add isn't even the Ghost Rider who was associated with the group in the comics. But I totally understand that Marvel probably wanted to use other well-known characters to help the game pull in a mainstream audience. I'd also like to point out that they're continuing the trend of utilizing lesser-known heroes to make the experience fresh to players who aren't familiar with them. We've seen this done with Miles Morales and Marvel Spider-Man, which came out at the perfect time because Into the Spider-Verse hadn't come out yet, so players got to experience him in the game before he ultimately blew up after making his big screen debut. And after that, we got Kamala Khan, who was the center lead in the latest Avengers game. I'm pretty sure she's going to receive a huge boost after her show hits Disney+. And now we have Nico Minoru, aka Sister Grimm, who's also been featured in a Marvel show. In my opinion, this character's inclusion to the team works exceptionally well. Sister Grimm is arguably one of the most powerful characters on the Runaways team, and an extremely powerful mage at that. It's also worth noting that she wields one of the most powerful relics within the Masters of the Mystic Arts faction, so it's very likely that Doctor Strange sought her out to stop this evil threat. Speaking of threats, the main villain the Midnight Suns will have to face is the Mother of Demons, Lilith. She's also known as the very first vampire in the Marvel Universe. She made her debut in the 1992 issue of Ghost Rider Rise of the Midnight Suns, which this game will be taking heavy inspirations from, so Doctor Strange and others will have to band together to stop Lilith and her army of demons from unleashing a powerful elder god on humanity. Besides Doctor Strange, we have the others such as Wolverine and Magic from the X-Men, Iron Man, Captain America, and Captain Marvel from the Avengers, Nico Minoru from the Runaways, and the original Midnight Suns members Blade and Ghost Rider, who won't be Johnny Blaze, but now he's Robbie Reyes. In addition to those familiar faces, Fireaxe has worked with Marvel to create an entirely new hero called the Hunter, who can harness light and dark energies in battle. This is an originally created character of which will be highly customizable in both appearance and combat ability. And according to Jake Solomon, there are over 40 different superpowers that will be available to players across a wide spectrum. If you remember in my reaction video, I mentioned that it would be dope if we could utilize capabilities that some of the iconic characters wield. And as it turns out, you can do that and more. As mentioned, the Hunter can harness 2 magic types, those being light and dark energy. If you want to use abilities similar to the traditional type heroes such as Iron Man and Captain America, you'll have to use light energy. But if you want to mirror the more occult anti-heroes such as Ghost Rider and Blade, you'll have to use dark energy. So this is going to add a lot of diversity in terms of how the Hunter plays, and I'm hoping there isn't too much compromising involved regarding which energy source you can use. A mixture of both would suffice and make the Hunter really unique in terms of her skill set. Anyways, I just want to point out that if you aren't too keen on playing as a female lead, you can opt to change them to a male. And if you're worried about only being able to play with the Hunter, then fret not. The other characters will be playable as well. It hasn't been made clear in what form or capacity, but rest assured you'll be able to test out each hero, which I can't wait to do. Also, it's been confirmed that there will be a total of 13 heroes to choose from. Anyways, I just think this game is coming out at the perfect time since there are other forms of Marvel media, specifically the MCU, which are tapping into similar story beats. Like seeing Stephen Strange and the heroes boasting magically enhanced gear instantly made me think of Spidey's new suit in the upcoming No Way Home film, which coincidentally enough features the same black and gold color scheme. But anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope I've given you all a clear understanding of what this game is and what its story will entail. As mentioned earlier, this title won't be using the typical XCOM formula Fireaxe is known for. It'll still be something new and different. So be on the lookout for the official gameplay reveal on September the 1st before you draw any conclusions. But with that said, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What are your thoughts on Marvel's Midnight Suns? Do you like their overall premise? And do you think it'll be a fun game? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future videos. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RVG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.